Guess what? We're back again. Guess who's back? Back again.
I don't know why we keep coming back and doing stuff, man. Why? Just
hey,
like
hey, because they love us, they love us, man. They love every time we come back and tell them about comic stuff and everything, because they love comics, we love them and everything, and we definitely want to make sure that we welcome them to like the Pittsburgh show. So thank you guys for joining. What's going on, Marvin? How you doing there, buddy?
It was nice yesterday. Like it was 60 degrees yesterday. Okay. And today it rained, it got cold, and then it snowed again. So yeah.
Oof, man,
we just all the snow just melted, and now it's back again. So
yeah, it's pretty cold down here in Georgia. So it's cold enough, I should say. We had like a 60-degree day, but no snow, and I don't miss that at all.
That's okay. Come spring, we'll get the trees shedding all over the thing. The pollen. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember the first time we came down here and looked at the house and everything. We saw like pollen all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? It was just pollen all over the cars and stuff. We didn't get as much last year and everything, but it's definitely there. Especially if you keep your car outside. It just cakes up like that. Cakes up. But I'm DP Brown, the writer and creator of the comic Theme of Thieves. This is my man Marvin Wynn, creator of The Edge and everything that comes with it. All right, so here we're basically this is a comic book show where we talk about all things comics, stuff that's happening with Comicsburg. Basically, we got like a lot of products, The Edge, the Theme of Thieves, Memoirs of the Morbid, League of Cryptids, all that good stuff. Beowulf, I can name them all, right, Marvin?
Name them all. Blowtorch.
Herrenberg. We got Finger and Bullets. We got Blowtorch. Am I missing something? We got stuff from Trillion and everything. I mean, it's
got the Incubator Studios and
Incubator Studios.
Got something for everyone. Something for everyone.
Something for everybody. But yeah, we want to thank you for coming in and checking us out and everything. Get a few house cleaning stuff out the way. Make sure that you guys are following us at Comicsburg. Okay, we're all over social media. We're all on X, formerly known as Twitter. On Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, where you see Marvin doing all these crazy moves and everything. Marvin is now in AI, so you can actually probably see him doing some AI stuff.
I'm an AI crazy. Right now. You know that. I'm not really here.
Yeah, you don't know if that he's here there or not. I mean, I could be speaking to like a robot, something. But yeah, thanks. Make sure that you guys are following us at comicsburg.com. Make sure that you guys are going to like our website too, comicsburg.com, where you get all your favorite, Comicsburg material and everything off everything that I named earlier, plus more. We got a lot of good stuff on that site for you guys to see. If you got some questions and some feedback on anything Comicsburg, make sure that you send us some feedback at info@comicsburg.com. All right. And last but not least, make sure that you we got a podcast too. So that's gotta make sure that we know if they let me know about the podcast and everything. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, be on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. Comicsburg is there. It's called The Comicsburg Show. Make sure that you're searching out The Comicsburg Show. And basically, if you're a creator or anybody just wanting to get into like books and wanting to know how to get into like the industry and seeing how it all what all comes with it, following our podcast is probably like the best way to do it. Okay. Also make sure that if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Hit that subscribe button. Also smash that subscribe button and hit that notification button, so anytime that we're on, that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Share us with your friends. We love when you share it with us, share our stuff with your friends and all that stuff, because we do a lot of work, hard work right here, right Marvin?
Yeah. Sharing is caring, man. Everybody wants to know what's going on, so let them know.
Let them know. All right, so like I said, smash that subscribe button. Let them know. All right. So basically today we're going to talk about the 5 keys of selling your comic in indie shops. All right. So we basically, hopefully we could get like, our special guest, to retailer to get into like the mix and everything. So we'll see if we can get him on the line and everything, from New Dimension Comics, Jon Engel and everything. Also, if he happens to come on, we'll get him on, or we'll get him on like, the next time we're on and everything. So we shall see. But we're basically going to talk about continue our From the Script to Store series, 5 keys to selling your indie comic in shops. All right. So let's go. Now, one of the first things that we want to let you guys know about when you're selling your stuff in the shops, know the store before you walk in. Okay. So if you're basically on the start of, you got your stuff all together, you went through like the other steps that we had in like the From the Script to Store series from parts 1 through 4, and you got your comic all together and everything. Now you want to actually get it in the stores and stuff. There's a couple steps that you want to do before you get into that. But if you're at the point where you're ready to get into the store, and you're trying to search what store you're going to, know what store that you know the store that you're going to go to before you actually walk in. Any particular reason why that would be, Marvin?
Well, if what you want to know is what sells. So what's already on the shelf that's comparable to your book, what they don't have on the shelves in the store. So one of the things you also looking at there in that kind of situation is communication with the store. Like don't just walk in there, throw your stuff down on the counter and say, hey, you want this stuff. Generally that's going to get you some dirty looks.
Bam, sell my stuff. Bam, I got all this product. Bam, just made it. Sell my stuff.
Right. Yeah, so like knowing what they're already selling, what's on the shelves, what's moving, what's not moving, is going to give you an idea on how to approach.
Yeah, it's basically like Marvin said, doing your homework. Know what genres they stock. If you're putting together an anime book and everything, and you go into like a store that sells mainly like what we want to say, like children's stuff and everything. You wouldn't want to go in there with like an anime book expecting them to, sell that. They look at you, like Marvin said, all crazy, like, well, how can we sell this stuff and everything? Mm-hmm. Your stuff doesn't match what we actually have in the store. So you want to make sure that that the genre that you're trying to push on them, push them to sell, do they have that in stock? And if so, you want to make sure that, it matches up to, lines up with, what they may have on their shelves and everything. So you can get a good gauge of where your stuff may fit in, once you put it in there. Find out what indie books that they support, So, a lot of comic shops love supporting indie stuff, but they want to make sure that they're in the business, or they're still also in business of selling as well. So while they may support indie stuff, they want to make sure that, they can get the bang for their buck and everything. Right, Marvin?
Yep. So they want to make sure that they can actually sell your product and it's just not sitting there taking up space, because think of it like an apartment building, and you have space that you have to rent. So that space costs money. So any space that you're being lent to is going to cost them a little bit of change. So if your product's not moving, then that product is probably going to get moved out, and another Batman book is going to be put in its place because they know the Batman book is going to sell.
And they're gracious enough to even, let you have that space for that limited time, before that Batman book, which they know will actually sell and everything. So, yeah. I mean, you got to appreciate the fact that they'll even, let you even enter that space for that limited amount of time that they have. Ryan says, he's here from Western PA, born and raised in Pittsburgh. Hey, what's up, Brian? What's going on with you? Brian. Yeah, we appreciate you. We basically, try to do as much as giving you like tips and everything on how we feel things are going on in the industry, and how to put yourself and stuff out there. But yeah, so we want to make sure that that you're putting your stuff in there, and make sure that when you put it in there, it is going to actually sell. So off mic, we talked about some things with Jen King. She has a store in where's her store at, Marvin?
She's in Texas.
She's in Texas. Okay. She was talking, Marvin, you was talking to me about some things that she was saying about store space and shelf space and you know, the what you know what it costs and stuff. And how much that she likes to support, but
Mhm.
you know, she has like the she wants to just make sure that you know it's clear up front with you know creators this stuff, the space costs and everything. Can you talk a
Right.
little bit about you know what her experiences are and what kind of advice she was given?
Right. So I mean, it's just like saying before. It's like it's rental. So each space, and I mean, I'm not going to put a dollar amount on it because it can be different for every store. It costs a certain amount of money because if I have the Edge or Theme of Thieves or Bale, whatever on that shelf, and if that it's not moving, and then I say, okay, this has to come down, and Batman goes in its place, and Batman sells, and now you're not getting that space back because now that space is sold to Batman, and Batman's going to move. So it's about presence too. So what are you, when you walk into that space, what is that person looking for? How does that retailer pitch your book to a person to say, oh, what's this new thing that I've never heard or seen before? Is it any good? And that's where you have to make sure that that communication chain is open of you explaining to the person of what how you sell that product to a customer, because not all retailers have the time like Shannon Ladd from Bat City to read every book that comes into the store every week and then
Oh
can
man,
give like a
it
relay
would
of
be a beautiful
what it's
thing.
about. But
Yeah, if they
everybody
did,
can
it
do
would be such a beautiful thing.
yeah. So I mean, and that's the challenge is how do I sell your book if I know nothing about it? And
Right.
maybe they'll sell on the cover. Maybe they'll say, oh, you have a whole local section or a whole indie section, and someone's like, I'm just going to try something new, and I'm just going to walk over here and just grab the first thing that gets my attention.
Yeah, and sort of brings us, you know, to a good segue to our next point. Make sure that you present a professional product.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be said enough and everything. Think about it like this. So they're presenting like, you know, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Avengers, Captain America, all the other comics, you know, creators out, I mean, sorry, publishers out there that are creating comics present like a professional, polished look. As you've seen in our other, you know, parts with the From Strip to Score, you know, how we talk about, you know, make sure that you got your lettering, you know, looking nice. Make sure that you got your artwork tight. Make sure that you got your, you know, inks and, you know, pencils and everything all fit. We'll get into printing and everything and all that stuff later. But make when you're at that point where you've done all that and you want to make sure that you know it's not just something that you made in your home, you put together with like you know sticky glue or whatever, and then we'll decide, okay, well I got like 100 copies of this. Let me see
Mhm.
if I can go to the store and see if someone can actually do it. You know, can actually sell your stuff. So you want to make sure that you got a professional product put together. That is so important because shop owners, they judge quick. They know what
Yeah.
sells. They know what stuff, you know, what stuff is supposed to look like. So you got to make sure that you come prepared. Fast finish, you know, finished printed books with the price on the cover, so they can know exactly how much it will sell for. I mean,
Right.
I mean, Marvin, he's been doing this stuff longer than me. He could tell you off bat. He's probably going through like many trials and tribulations from when he first started and everything, and seeing how okay, well, I got to get to a point where you know, it's gonna sell really good. Oh, Brian, he said some good advice so far. Glad to tap into. Hey, we appreciate you just joining, Brian. So make sure that you share our podcast with all your friends and all that stuff. So we appreciate you, you know, tapping in there. But yeah, Marvin, hey, tell them about your early going on experiences with shops.
So it's all bad now.
With magic.
So I mean, it's where you're looking into those situations when you're first starting out and you have no idea how things should be sized, and you're counting on other people to trust that they know. And in some situations, like your color grading could be bad. So you're saying that, all right, so I'm printing a book, and my book is CMYK colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know the main colors strings, not like red, blue, green, is for internet. So you're kind of like in that mode of okay, so now we've kind of screwed up, and we did RGB on our colors when it should be CMYK. So now we're kind of busted. and we send it to the printer, and it comes back and it looks like trash because of one mistake. So now you're kind of starting all over again. Okay, so now we have to either kind of fudge it in Photoshop and kind of flip it and say, okay, so now we're going back, telling Photoshop, flip the colors from RGB to CMYK. That may work, it may not work, or you're going back to your colorist and say, hey, do you still have those files? Can you flip these over to the right color grading so they'll print right? But then there's also sizing. So the proper sizing, and then what's called bleeds. So, and then you have to make sure like the white spaces called the gutters in there are right in the right places, because if you don't do that right, so now some of your art is bleeding into the corners of the pages. So now some of the stuff is getting cut off. Or on the cover, if your sizing is improper, now your logo is off center and it's bleeding onto the corner of the book. I've seen that before, where it's like it's not on the sizing is incorrect. So the logos and things are on the span of the book. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing a floppy and it has staples, there's no spine. So now that's off center. So I mean, there's a lot of things in this mode where you have to be checking and rechecking to make sure everything is in its proper place, because once it's printed, and you've already spent your money, and it's not the printer's fault, it's your fault because you didn't size things properly. So now you're responsible for another print run when you already paid for it. So now you've got like 500 pieces of garbage that you can't do anything with.
I've seen so many instances where some people just try to put stuff together in their homes and just, this is stuff that I've seen at conventions where, people try to sell me their book. And I think because I've always got like the retailer eye and everything. And if it looks professional, if it looks like, polished and everything, I don't judge it to them, if I'm looking at their book, but I'm just like the retailer, I'm looking at it and they're trying to sell me something that I don't think looks, professional enough. So like Marvin said, there's so many with the internet out there, there's so many ways for you to get your stuff looking nice, looking right and everything. One printer that we go to is called Comic Impressions. And they're out of like Florida. Okay. Mm-hmm. So just as an example, they have like their templates and everything that you can use to make sure that your stuff is in the proper, setting and in the proper area. So it doesn't like, bleed over or get into, areas where it's going to look real sloppy when you print it and everything. So you want to make sure that, all that stuff is all together, and it doesn't cost you anything to download their templates, even if you don't use them as your printer. Okay. To download the templates to make sure it all fits in place. Whereas you have some people that'll just, take their stuff and just put it out there and hope for the best and everything. And that's fine, because if you want to go through like your own trials, that's, your own bag. And and if you feel that if you feel that you want to go at your own pace and doing that stuff by your own trials and tribulations, that's totally fine. But with the internet out there, it's a lot easier ways to get things done a lot faster in order to make sure that you get your book to where you need to at a certain point. It's a good way to get an editor in there, or somebody else that, even if you can't pay an editor, to look over your stuff to make sure that it's presentable before you even get into that and everything.
Right. And back when I started, this was back in the America Online days, if people remember dialing up onto the internet. So, I mean, and a page just dropped. And so Paige was there with me back in the AOL days, and all this information wasn't out there. Just none of it. It didn't exist because it was fresh and new for people to be outside of the Marvels and DCs and the images of doing this kind of stuff. So it was kind of like haphazard, and it wasn't readily available to tell you what's the size of a comic page.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I don't know. I didn't know.
You just don't know.
I have no idea. But now that information is readily available, and we make it readily available, that I don't want anyone to make mistakes that I did.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you don't want to make the mistake of, like I said before, is sending things off to a printer, paying for the prints, and they come back and it's not, you can't do anything with them. It's kind of, they're like frisbees, or you want to just hand them out to people and say, this is what I was trying to do. And
I
then you're
mean,
like, okay, yeah, I spent all this money, now I have to do it again.
or even worse, going to a print shop that doesn't even have any professional, well, that just does regular printing on stuff, like a FedEx or what have you, or what they used to have called Kinkos and stuff. You could tell I haven't been to the shop in a minute, Walmart or whatever, and that doesn't really do comic printing, and expecting your stuff to come out just like how you see in like the stores and stuff. If you look at Marvin's work, this is the edge that we've been showing on the screen. You know, look how polished everything looks. Look how professional the lettering looks. So when a store owner opens his comic, they're going to be like, okay, well, this is some really good stuff. The care and the effort that, Marvin and his team put into the work, shows right on the page itself, with like the action, divided screens, and everything looks like it's all set together to make sure it looks right. Brian said, he said, yeah, my experienced creators have learned how to detach themselves emotionally from their work and make sure that they're creating a strong product to consumers. Hey, Brian, come on now. That is like one of the most that's one of the number one, or if you say one of the top 5, things that you have to do when being a creator. Detach yourself emotionally from your product to make sure that you're putting your work out. Give it to a friend. Look at it from like a third eye. Don't be afraid to take the criticism, and don't think that your work is that solid enough to where you could just put it out on your own. Like I said, you can, because it's a free country. You could do anything that you want. But wouldn't it be a lot faster if I showed, I took my stuff to Marvin, and Marvin was like, okay, let me give you a critique on how I can get that, get your stuff looking a lot better, so it could be much more presentable in the store for when you go into it.
So even take it out of comics and look at other products in like grocery stores or other stores. So look at like milk, and you have like, you make the label and it's upside down or it's crooked, and it's missing the nutritional content label, and it's missing how much product is inside of the container and everything like that. No one's going to buy that. I mean, like that, like, what is this? Did some fool make this? So I mean, it's the same thing, is that you want to make sure that you're putting your best effort forward into something when you're doing this, because it'll show. It shows on the page your effort, and people will appreciate that effort that you put into something, and they'll know if you care about it, they'll care about it.
A couple of other things that you want to make sure, as far as getting your product professionally presented, you want to make sure that you got like a sales sheet, some type of one sheet or whatever, letting the retailer or shop owner know, like, your title, the pitch, have a good 1 to 2 cent pitch of what the comic is, so they can actually sell it to their customers and stuff. So it's all about selling and everything. You created the whole thing, but now you got to go out and actually sell the thing. So if you don't got a team like me and Marvin to do that, sometimes we got to do it ourselves. Most of the time, actually, we do. But we got to sell. Go and make sure that you got like a couple sentences to pitch to, like, the shop or store owner. Make sure it has like the issue number, the price, or what genre and audience it's for, and your release plan on like the project and everything. So basically, gives the customer. Say it again.
I said one more thing on that. Please, for the love is all is holy, put barcodes on your books. Please do it. Please, like it's
shop on around a ton,
right? Like every time we talk to a retailer, it's the same thing: barcode, barcode, barcode. That makes it so much easier for them to put it into their POS of choice, purchase order system, pick up the little wand thing and beep on the damn book. So they don't have to type it into the machine, the computer, every time they sell your book. Put a barcode on it. It'll save them time, and they'll probably look at your book a little differently if it has a barcode on it versus a barcode on
it. Yeah. I mean, to add on that, you don't want to be cheap. If you're putting all that work and effort into creating the stuff and everything, you don't want to start getting cheap and not doing the things that you need to do in order to make it look good and everything, which is make sure that it has professional printing, getting that barcode, getting stuff together. in order to make sure that you got it out, because it all goes into like the whole making a proficient, making the product look super professional and everything. Okay, so that's the second thing. So when we get into like the third, let me see, hold on, let me pull this thing up here, Marvin. So the third thing that we actually want to talk about is offer flexible and fair terms. Now we're talking about price. We're talking about how you're going to split, the money residuals that you're going to receive from the stuff that you sell. So be ready to talk numbers. Consignment split, often like a 60-40 thing, if you want to, do consignment. And what does consignment mean for, in comic terms and stuff there?
So that's pretty much, I'm leaving. So it's about risk. So with consignment, you're absorbing the risk. For non-consignment, the store's absorbing the risk. And in those kind of situations, you're usually going to get a little bit better cut with consignment. But at the same time, that's kind of getting some binoculars and watching the product. Because now it's becoming that I have to keep watching and keep contacting the retailer. Hey, did that book sale? Did that book sale? Did that book sale? And what I've heard from a lot of retailers is people will forget, and they'll just forget that they ever dropped the book off because you didn't put any money in your pocket when you walked away. So if you're going to do consignment, have a consignment sheet and write it down. And then put a note in your calendar saying, on this date, I dropped off a book. Check back in 2 weeks to see if it's sold, because you want to get your money, right? You don't want to just leave the book there and be like, oh, have a nice day, and never worry about it again.
Not at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a guest star. Woo! Jon Engel.
What up?
Comics.
What up? What up, guys? What up?
In there. So what's going on there?
I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook. So good. I was just listening to a lot of the stuff you said, and as a retailer, I agree with everything you said. Barcodes, like consignment stuff, following up everything, the professionalism of what the Comicsburg collective puts out as their product, all that stuff. It's great. Love it.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on. Jon, he's like he's from the New Dimension comics and everything. And since you're a guest on here, Jon, tell us a little bit about. Well, first of all, tell us about New Dimension Comics and your role in New Dimension.
Sure. I am the regional manager for New Dimension Comics, so I oversee 6 stores, 5 in PA, 1 in Ohio. We're celebrating next year our 40th anniversary of the company, which is awesome. Big 4-0. And my boss and I just had dinner.
Awesome.
Yeah. Actually, the reason I was a little late today is because I was having I was having dinner with my boss, and we were talking about stuff for the 40th anniversary, and it's also the 10-year anniversary of Three Rivers Comic Con next year, so they coincide. However, he's like, I've been so busy, I haven't. Oh, there we go. Because I've just been so busy, I just don't. I haven't looked at anything, and I'm like, I really would love to get something, some kind of commemorative 40 years of comics or something, like some kind of shirt or something that we can, sell or the staff can have or something like that. And when we did our 25 years, 15 years ago, he did a pint glass, and he had 25 artists work on a pint glass. That was really cool. Came in red or blue. I have them both. They're both downstairs. And they're awesome, but I was like, I really don't want to do a pint glass again. I'd like to do something like a shirt or something people can see to say, hey, look, they were here for 40 freaking years. So anyway, I oversee all 6 stores. So there's the owner, there's me, then there's everybody else. So I'm the one that walks in and goes, okay, I need this changed. I need this changed. This is the new policy. We're going to do this. I need feedback on this stuff, guys. Like, it's a lot of legwork, but there's a lot of things that kind of autopilot anymore, so which is nice. So I do a lot of things like working with creators and bringing in independent creators as signings, as stock in the store. I booked stuff, got everybody for the show. So it's a lot of different things. And I work with new vendors. Like we just got a Entertainment Earth account not too long ago. The stores have been working with that, and we got a Mystery Dice Goblin account. So all kinds of different things, and um, I set up at shows. I do usually probably like about 12. I probably do about 13 or 14 shows a year though, like in
Okay.
total. I think next year I'm going to try to cut that in half though. Just because some shows haven't been working out as well as they were, and like next year, like the dates and things land really weird. Um, but yeah, and then like the other part of my job is running through this Comic Con, and which is in downtown Pittsburgh, and is a comic focused show. And you guys are going to be there, and it's going to be good.
They're there every year.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good time. So that's pretty much it.
Hey,
Other than that, I hang out, play a lot of guitar. In my spare time, whatever that is, I hang out with my wife and my dogs. I play guitar. I do a lot of stuff with a couple different fraternities that I'm in, and I keep myself busy. But it's you have to have stuff that is different from work sometimes to keep you sane.
Yes.
And that's I think I've this year, especially in the last part of the year, I've really figured out my work-life balance. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad to be part of cool communities like we're in, and I'm kind of like the extra member of the Comicsburg family because I tend to hang out with you guys at random shows and help out and do stuff, and I love it. It's great. And I love hanging out with you guys. I support you guys all the time. And it's a lot of fun. So
I think judging from everything that you just said, they didn't, people that's watching us right now probably don't realize how much work that goes into being, working for a comic shop, or probably a lot of stuff that you do. You probably have like a lot of shop owners don't even do half the stuff that you do, as far
you're
as, like,
probably right.
Hey, you running like a ton of stuff, and you're doing like a lot of work and all that stuff. And it's really good appreciation that you show to any community, especially in the Pittsburgh area, as much love as you do with the amount of shops that you guys have and everything. I want to say on behalf of Marvin and Comicsburg and everything, I mean, we just definitely appreciate everything that you've done for us, and the community and everything over the years.
Yeah, man. No, it's great, and like, and like Grant lives like 2 miles from me, so like every once in a while, me and him will grab dinner, or drinks, or something, and I'll see either Marvin or Manny in one of the shops or something, and it's a good time, man. Like, you guys are always a blast to hang out with. You're always super laid back and chill, and you guys are some of the hardest working guys I know in independent comics. So yeah.
Yeah. So, so we're basically talking about, like, 5 keys in selling your comics in comic shops and everything. When you got on, we were into like the third key as far as like offering fair and flexible terms. The first 2 that we talked about was knowing the store before you walk in, and then the second one was like presenting a professional product. Tell us a little bit about like the outside of Comicsburg, and maybe some other creators in the community and everything, the expectations that you may have in having like a creator, an indie, coming into your store presenting their stuff.
So basically, you want to know what it takes to get me to carry your stuff in my store. Yes,
exactly.
Okay. Okay. So in all 6 stores, so let me just explain where the stores are and which ones are better for this kind of stuff first, real quick. So the first one is the oldest store we have is Elwood City. Not real great. It's a little north of the city, but we have a giant warehouse there, so it's cool. Cranberry is our next oldest one. It does 50-50 with indie guys, so some do well, some don't. Your guys' stuff usually does pretty good, but there's other guys that it just won't move there. Butler, same way. Pittsburgh Mills usually pushes a little more because we have a lot of indie creators that like to come in there and buy from other indies. The Waterfront, similar. though it tends to be more new book oriented. And then Ohio is another mix. Ohio and St. Clairsville is another mixy one.
Okay.
So there's each store is a little different. So what I look for, because I curate that a little bit, I guess, is first you have to have a barcode on your book, or I'm not going to carry it. Because we have a digital register. Everything that's on our new release wall in our graphic novels and all of our toys, they're all online. So the barcodes are a big thing. And then and the cool part about the barcode is also, like, with the system we have, we can see what the inventory is in the other stores. So if you go into Cranberry and go, man, I really need the Edge 5, and we just don't have it there because it's maybe somebody bought the last copy, we can then be like, hold on, let me check, and I can check all the other stores, and if we have one, we can have it transferred there, or you can go pick it up, whatever you want, mail it to your house. We can do whatever. Then I look at the presentation of the book. Like, if it's an ash can, I'm less likely to take it, because ash cans don't really move that much in our stores. But a full book that's glossy dress, is professional art at least on the cover, like very professional looking art. When it comes to the art, I actually tend to look to make sure that they're consistent in their art. Because like nothing is worse than opening up a book and seeing someone doing like this, and like this arm, the extended arm, being like the length of their body, and this arm being like a midget like T-Rex arm. Like, like nothing is more annoying than seeing inconsistent art. And as a creator, you would want that to be consistent. So if you're not getting that, then you need to figure out somebody else to draw your shit. So I've actually turned down some books because of that, and I flat out told them, I'm like, well, your art's not consistent, like, or it's too hard to follow because of how the art style is. Like, it's got to be easy to follow. Like, you can't have like all of the lettering can't be like giant words in the background and stuff. Like, you can't, like, it has to have a flow to it, right? Because if it doesn't have a flow to it, then everyone's going to get lost and they're not going to read it. Right. And then I'll try to read a couple pages just to see if the story catches me, or I'll have them give me the pitch, and then I'll read a couple pages just to see if the writing's what's the word I want to use? Less than juvenile. Like, and they actually use like correct spellings and punctuation and grammar. Like, yeah. I mean, unless the character's designed to be that way, I want it to make sense, because those are the things that people want to look for. And like, so certain styles of books are easier to carry. Like a horror book is an easy carry. Superhero books have to have a good presence to them, like a good story behind it, or because if it's just a random superhero, then I don't care. Like, it's like just putting another Batman on the wall, right?
John, just for everybody who joined us, this is Jon Engel, regional manager of New Dimension Comics and everything, our special guest for today. All right, go
ahead. So yeah, that's most of it. And then the price point has to be half decent, right? So if you want me to sell your book for $10, you better not ask me to pay more than like $5 or $6 for that book, because I'm not going to do it. If you want to do a consignment, we can figure something else out too. But normally, most vendors will look for like a 40 to 50% discount on the book, especially if you're doing a Kickstarter. The one thing I do, and I run a podcast called New Dimension Comics Presents the Toddcast. You can check that out on YouTube. It's normally Thursday nights, but we're off to the new year. If you go to any of ours that we do there, and we bring a guest on and they want to talk about their book, the very first thing we do once we get into that Kickstarter page is we roll down that thing and we look for a retailer tier. And if it doesn't have a retailer tier, we're like, where's your retailer tier? And they're always like, what do you mean? What's a retailer tier? And I'm just like, oh my God. So you have no idea how many people I have gotten to put retailer tiers. And then they've worked out because like, it's like a bundle of 5. A bundle of 5 is like a pretty easy bundle to do, right? For me, if I can do multiple bundles, it's good because then I can just get one shipment and I'll split it to the stores. Some bundles are up to 10. I probably wouldn't go any harder than 10. If it's a graphic novel, like a 3 to 5 bundle is probably fine. But I look for that, and I look for what kind of discount it comes. I don't care about all the bells and whistles, extra stuff. I just want it to be like, if you want to throw in, you get a variant, you get a pin, you get a hat, you get a shirt, whatever. I don't care. Like, that's cool, but I just want your product, and I want it to look good, and I want it to be movable, because if I can't move it, I'm not going to carry any more of it. So it's a lot of stuff, and I think the nice part about especially your guys' stuff, since a lot of you guys are local, it's easier for us to move it because they hear about it through the local chains, and you guys can just be like, oh yeah, you can get it at this store, this store, this store, this store. So super easy.
It's super easy for us. Go to the new dimension, get our stuff and everything. You don't have to search all online and everything. It's right there in New Dimension. So go ahead and do that. We were talking
see John give him a high five. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and I also looked at the price point is actually on the book somewhere. That's another thing that is absolutely absurd. But most people that do a barcode put the price on there. When you don't do a barcode, you tend to forget you need to put a price on here, right?
Right.
So it's easier for us to go, okay, we paid this was supposed to be $10. That's what we paid for it online, or we paid 5, 6, whatever, and we're gonna do this. But all of this is stuff that you have to be able. You as the creator then also have to be able to pitch it to us in a manner that makes sense, right? Like, we don't want to waste our time. We don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. So, if you call a shop and they're like, send me a PDF, you're going to actually send 2, right? You're going to send the PDF of the item, and then you're going to send a PDF that's like, here are the breakdown of the price points and what your discount is. And basically a PDF order form. So it makes way more sense for them to just be like, cool, I can do this. Boom, here you go. That's really my 2 cents on that thing.
So when we talked to Jen King a little while ago, and she kind of said she doesn't want to kind of click on anything in an email. So she says, put everything in the email of what you want and tell me what I have to do to buy it. I don't want to click on anything. Just tell me and then send me an invoice. That's what she pretty much told us.
There's that too. Yeah.
And, scammers,
Yeah. I love Jen. She's awesome. So I don't get to see her a lot, but she's a lot of fun.
But you're going to a Comics Pro, right? So you'll see her there, right?
If I go this year, I don't know if I'm going out this year.
Next year.
I might. Yeah, well, yeah, you know what I mean. This February.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is that the easier you make it on me, the easier I'll make it on you.
Yep.
The harder you make it on me, the less chance I'm ever going to want to talk to you about anything ever again. So.
Yep.
Write that down. Whoever's taking notes, hit the easy button. Make it very simple. That's the easiest way. And I will always say, and once again, repeat this: do not call comic shops on Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
Correct. Sometimes Mondays aren't even good either, because Mondays we might be processing shipments.
Right. So
now a lot of shipments come in on Monday because of Lunar and Penguin.
Yeah.
But I would say like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are bad, and there's a lot of shops that aren't even open Monday and Tuesday because they just process books and go home.
So generally Thursday, Friday, sometimes Saturdays are your
Thursdays are probably your best day because most of us are going to be dead, because Thursday's a weird dead day usually. So
yeah, write that down. So you got barcodes, price, consignment sheet. Call on Thursday, sometimes Friday. Never on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Hey, Brian's out here taking notes diligently. He's like been on it since the beginning of the podcast and everything. Shout out to Brian and everything. Appreciate you. Make sure that you're following Jon Engel's podcast when he comes on. Was it on Friday? You said, John?
Thursday nights.
Thursday. Okay, Thursday nights and everything.
Yeah.
So think about how much work John was talking about that he was doing, how busy he is. When he first popped on here and everything, and all the stuff that he does. And for you to actually come into, for a creator to actually come into your store to present their stuff, all the stuff, you want to make sure that, John is not doing more work. He doesn't want to do more work because he got so much work to do.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So basically, if you can make it easy for John, i.e. any other store owner that's out there and everything, it puts so much goodwill into your stuff. On top of the professionalism, on top of the product, on top of making sure everything just looks so good and everything for John and any other store owner out there, it just makes it that much more better for you to get your stuff into the store. We talked about shelf space. We talked about make sure that you guys have like the good product, offering the flexible, price terms and everything. Number 4, we want to talk about backing up with marketing support and everything. So now that we got John on here, a lot of creators, they basically may not come with like a full book of marketing. And I'm sure that you don't want to have have to go in there and read their whole marketing plan and all that stuff. But you want to have an idea that this, that the book that's being sold or about to be sold into your store has some sort of audience and everything, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you really have to. You have to kind of have the pitch ready. So you need to have the pitch of, here's what my book's about. Here's the audience. I do shows. This is how many I'm normally selling at a show. Here's my socials, like stuff like that, so we can see it. Especially if you're willing to give a shout out to the store that's carrying it on your socials. Like that's usually a pretty good marketing tool that we'll take advantage to. But like shelf talkers sometimes are cool. Little freebie like bookmarks are cool to like market your books. The interesting thing, flyers, posters, all that stuff. The interesting thing I find about you guys is like, because you're a studio collective, you're not just pushing one book all the time. Like you're not just pushing your book, right? Mm-hmm. Like you guys understand the idea of teamwork, so your marketing plan is teamwork, right? So if you go to a show, if you go to a show in say South Carolina, like you're going to have your stuff, Marvin's stuff, Brant's stuff, everybody's stuff, because there's somebody that's going to buy something there, and it's about the collective, right? Yeah. Because it's kind of like the whole rising tides raise all ships thing. Like you got to be able to, obviously you're going to market yourself the most, but you also need to know how to market the other guys to help sell their stuff. Another thing that another tip you should think about if you're thinking about putting your book into a store, go recon the store and see if they carry A, indie, and B, creator-owned stuff. Because if they don't, there's a good chance they're just going to tell you that you pound salt.
Our number 1, know the store before you walk
in. There it is. There it is.
Know the store before you walk in, guys, and everything. So, I mean, John is spitting some really good game right here. This is called game, guys. This is stuff that you're getting for free watching on YouTube, Facebook, and all the other channels and stuff. So, I mean, this is some really good stuff. That you're that we're basically talking here, and that's helped us out like a ton through like our trials and tribulations and everything that's Comicsburg related, going out. And the one point that you said about the rising tides helping all stuff, yes, when we do go to shows, not only do we sell our products, we sell our other Comicsburg products too, because we have like a variety of different stuff, like horror, we have like action adventure, we have like thriller, time travel stuff and everything. Somebody when they're coming to the table, they may not like exactly what I may be selling if I'm pushing their product. But if I ask them, okay, well, what do you like, reading, or what do you like watching, or whatever, I have other products to actually sell them, and it's Comicsburg related. And guess what? they see that branding, they see all the advertising stuff, they may actually end up telling their friends or themselves coming back to our stuff, which is basically what Jon said. Rising tides help all ships.
Indeed.
Brian said something about an elevator pitch. Yes, but here's the easier way to do it. One sheet. So one sheet.
Well, is he asking what an elevator pitch is? So do we want to let him know what I guess?
Well, I think he was saying, or we talking about an elevator pitch. Yeah, so it's an elevator pitch. It's the quickest way I can tell you about my book in as fast as possible. So I've got 20 seconds. I got 10 seconds. So I mean, and that's also what you use at a convention when you're pitching too, is that I've got 10 seconds to get your attention and use something that's going to bring you over and say, hey, I want that thing. But as Jon was saying, like flyers and things like that. So if you can create a one sheet that has all that information on it, that's helpful too.
Yep. Especially if you're like, you buy one book and that book ends up in the bag or the bag and board, like, or just the bag, like you put it in. I think that can go a long way because somebody's going to, eventually take the book out to read it, and they're going to look at all this stuff. So yeah, so the elevator pitch and the elevator pitch and the one sheet basically are the same thing, but they're super quick, right?
Yeah.
Like my elevator pitch for Sex Criminals. You guys ever read Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chips at RC?
Yeah.
Okay, so my elevator pitch. So people always they see like the big hardcover, the big hard one cover, right? And I'm always like, they're like, what the hell is this about? And I'm like, two people figure out when they climax, they can freeze time and decide to rob a bank for charity. And they're just like, what? And I'm like, yeah. If that did not hook you in those 3 or 4 sentences, don't read this book, because that's literally the book. It's the literal premise of the book. So it's very interesting to get people to do that stuff. So
Brian had a quick question on here, Jon. He said, what's your take on retailer variants of books that you carry in the stores? Do you have a take on that?
Man, so I'm not a big fan of them, only because they tend to not do very well for us ever. And I don't know if it's the creators we've had do them, or if it's just because maybe the book itself didn't do well, or it's some of the ones we've done were like the cookie cutter, just put your logo in here, like the Godzilla one, or the Amazing 666, where it's the lizard ripping through like a comic store. But I mean, I think it's cool if you can make them, if it's a property that's going to be hot and it really, really cooks. Like the cover's got to really, really cook for me to do that. But I don't know that that my store specifically is the kind of store that people look for that kind of stuff, because we don't do a lot of 1 in 100s. We don't do a lot of 1 in 50s, because we got burned a lot on that, and costs are a thing. And we have found that not getting those and just ordering the ones we need to cover subs, plus maybe 4 or 5 for the shelf, actually is a better fiscally responsible thing, and we're making the same amount of money. We're just saving more because we're not selling, we don't have all this extra stuff sitting around. In fact, we end up buying it from those stores that do that and then turn it into a pack of Ollies. So
he said, all good, makes sense. Appreciate the honest response. Hey, Brian, appreciate the good questions that you got coming. I mean, appreciate you soaking up all the game and everything that Jon here is presenting and stuff. As far as absolutely. With the exclusives and basically any other product, that you put into the stores, since you have a chain, unlike other shop owners who may have maybe 1 or 2 shops, for you having the benefit of having more than 1 shop, up to 5 or what have you, you find do you find that other stuff carries better in other areas versus your main shop or what have you? So you basically, if you have an idea of what's going to sell, you think you will put it in your Tarentum store versus putting it into like your, puts in, on one of your other shops. What are you thinking about that?
So, yes. So, each store, like I said, kind of has its own flavor. And I mean, with comics, it's kind of a different. It's harder to minutia that per store, right? Because for the most part, everybody buys Marvel and DC, and maybe some Image, and then after that, it's kind of figure it out, right? There's different levels of indie that each store will carry because there's either guys that are in their 70s and only want to read Marvel and DC, or there's a whole bunch of young people that want to read everything that's out there, or they don't want to read Marvel and DC. And then there's the manga people. So like our Waterfront, Pittsburgh Mills, and Ohio store do fantastic with manga, but all the other stores not so hot, right? Same with gaming. The Pittsburgh Mills happens to have a bunch of gaming stores around it, so their gaming has actually decreased in the last couple of years as those opened, versus like Ohio, which hasn't had any gaming stores in the area, so they kind of started to build a bigger gaming increase. So it's similar to that. You just kind of have to really pay attention to your statistics, pay attention to your sales. If one of my stores is like, hey, I want to carry this thing, I'm always like, okay, well, first let's see how it did in the other stores. Then I'll be like, let's get some of it from that store and bring it to you and see how it goes before we go whole hog and get you an account with somebody, right? Because that's a whole bunch of extra crap that I got to deal with, and I don't want to deal with that again.
Remember, we don't want to have John do more work than he does.
Right. No more work. My blood pressure is high enough as it is. So, for instance, posters. Like 2 weeks ago, I said to our Elwood store, I'm like, listen, I'm going to order you $1,000 in posters because all the other stores are killing it with posters. But you don't have them, and I want you guys to have them. Let's try it out. If it sucks, I'll send them to one of the stores that carries posters. So I ordered, I don't know, 100 posters for them or some shit. 200 posters for $1,000. Came into the store. Within 3 days, they sold $1,000 worth of posters.
Wow!
And I was like, well, apparently this place needed some posters. But like for instance, Yu-Gi-Oh, we saw a shitload of it in Elwood, but none of the other stores really move it. So like I said, it's a very interesting thing to be in a chain and see how each store works individually. Because they're all armed, or they're all heads of a Hydra, right? Like they all come back and feed the same body. But it's interesting to see how all of that works, and then how to try to put it together. Like I spend a lot of time like analyzing sales and you're making sure people are keeping their spending together and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's amazing how much it goes back to number one, knowing your store, knowing that store before you walk into it, or even just doing your research. It doesn't hurt for you to actually go into a store and talk with like the regional manager, like how we have down here, and also i.e. store owner, what have you, someone in the store that actually knows the stuff that they're selling, so you can actually do your stuff and fashion your stuff to make sure that whatever you're about to put in actually fits the stores that it's going to go into. John mentioned about being in you may have a community that has more city, that's more in the city where you have more young people coming in, or you may have like a more a rural community and everything where New Dimension is in. You may have a lot of older folks coming in there and buying up different stuff, where the stuff that you may put in there may sell really good or may not. It just depends. So it depends on like the stuff that you actually, where you think that your artist, your product will go to, and just make sure that you're talking to like these people, which is in your community, so you can actually fashion the best stuff. Would you guys agree?
Right. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So on to number 5, we're going, and this is like the last thing that we're talking about. Think long-term relationships, not just one-time shelf space. So you don't want to sit up there and just put your stuff in there. You know, first of all, you got Jon to actually put your stuff in there. So that deserves an applause in itself, right, guys? You got stuff all together. You did all that work, and you got Jon to put your stuff into the stores and everything. And next thing you know, Jon doesn't see you ever again. You know, what happened to such and such and everything? What happened to DP? You know, I put his stuff into the store and everything, and it was good. All of a sudden, I just never seen him again and everything. So, Jon, how many times have you run into that? Or, how do you feel about, that this number 5 right
here? So I think one of the questions I normally ask people when they bring me a single issue is how often do you put out a new issue, right? Because you can't be like, oh, I'm going to put one out every year, right? Like that's too long, right? It's got to be no more than 4 months, I would think. So, because if you're not bringing new stuff, then people aren't going to want to keep buying, right? So if you have like one issue,
if your story is fashioned around one issue or one shot or what have you, then that's maybe okay. But
that's a different thing. That's a different thing. Yeah,
you're referring to like series and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, but if you're like, this isn't a one shot, like it's gonna have like 5 more issues. I'm always like, when does the next issue come out? And if it's not, if it's within 6 months, I'm like, cool. But also like, so like let's use like a graphic novel, right? Let's use Theme of Thieves, right? Theme of Thieves 1 came out, graphic novel, or prestige book, depending on how you want to look at it. Prestige. So that is different, but the idea is like, I was already carrying The Edge. I was already carrying Heroine Bird. You came and asked, and I said, yeah, come on, bring it in, because it's another Comics Bird book, sure. Even though you didn't have anything else coming out for a while, you specifically would, just be like, just talk to me in general. Like, it doesn't need to be about the book and see how it sells. It's, hey, man, how's it going? It's been a while, blah, blah, blah. Or you go to this show, it's great to see you, da-da-da. Like, things like that, where we're making a relationship versus, like, you're just a vendor. Right. And because if we don't have that relationship and you only come at me to buy your shit, I'm not going to do it. I'm least inclined to continue that relationship. Yeah. So definitely communication, and you don't have to like reach out to somebody every day. Like, it could be like after a month, you'd be like, hey man, just stopping by, seeing how things are going. How's the book moving? Is it, like, do you need more? And then, even if I say no, it's not really working out, you're like, oh, well, it sucks. And then, just talk to me about some other stuff. Like, and I'm going to still keep it on the shelf, but I'm more like, talk to the person and get to know the shop owner, because maybe your book, it really isn't for that shop, but they might be like, you know what, this isn't really I read the book. It's not really what I thought it was going to be, but my buddy down here at this other shop, he might be a better guy to carry it. But because you and I have that relationship where we can actually talk to each other like humans and not a vendor purchaser relationship, like I'm more willing to divulge information like that. Like, hey man, make sure you go check out Julie down at K&J. Make sure you go to talk to Ken at Pop Culture, or Tony at Pop Culture, or Ken down at Phantom of the Attic in Oakland, fucking comic book Santa Claus, or Roy, or Jay, or Colin, or any of the guys in the area, like or Jeff at Phantom, Ken's at Ides. Either way, like, still go and talk to them, because like, you want to have that relationship built, because we're all in this weird industry together. And and we may work out something like how do I want to put this? So like at some point, me being friends with other creators that you don't maybe know, but you're fans of them and you maybe want to have them do a variant or something, you can then come to me because we know each other and you know that I know this person. Like, hey man, I was thinking about asking this guy for stuff. Can you give me his information or what do you think he'll say? That's a whole different ball game than just being like getting that same request from someone who's just shelling me their books all the time.
Yeah, like they said, like a robot.
Yeah.
Hello, take my book. Can I put my
and Brian just down here said, you mean just be a human being, but still your change comes like a homeless person look for shelf space. That is totally the truth and everything.
Space for the poor. Space for the poor.
If you think about it, as far as being an indie creator, and basically what I like telling people, the biggest thing about putting your stuff out there is reminding people that it's out there. It's really the simplest thing, because if you stay in the face, and like John said, you don't necessarily have to come bugging him every day and everything. How's myself doing and everything, but making sure that you remind him that you're still there, reminds him, okay, well, maybe I can go and, if it doesn't work out on my store, I can tell, such about the product and everything, or I can, put it over in this store and everything, or do something else with it, or talk to me. Or I'm sure, John, you appreciate, creators talking to you about how much more they could support their stuff if they're putting it in the stores, Maybe if they need to do like an appearance. I love the way that, how you do with us at Comicsburg, how you, invite us to come into the stores to, push our stuff, let us sell.
Anytime. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's just, more store owners do that. They let us come into like shops and, do our stuff. It gets the brand out there. It keeps, the name out there. And it serves the community as a whole, like you said, because not only does it come back to them, it comes back to you. You may hear stuff about Comicsburg or, Marvin's product or Grant's or whatever, my stuff from other stuff. And it lets you know, okay, well, I made the right decision on putting my stuff or putting their stuff into the stores, Right. So, absolutely. I mean, it all feeds back into itself. But like, like you said, just make sure that you're a human. Making sure that you show yourself, being a human being and everything, person to person, it'll always trump being right online and everything, where the stuff is taken out of context all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, inflection on text versus inflection in person is two different things.
Oh man, so I gotta steal that. I gotta bite your rhymes, man. John is spitting that game. So genuine conversation, building friendships is the best marketing you can ask for. So,
absolutely,
Brian. I mean, that's pretty much it right there. I mean, you nailed it. So basically, you got the top 5 things. Oh yeah, Marvin, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, and also gives you a situation where like we get a lot of people saying that they're pitching our stuff to other people too. And they're saying that, hey, have you heard of Comicsburg? Do you know about these guys? So I mean, get their stuff. It's at this store. It's at this store. It's at this store. Or maybe you could see someone at a Pirate game wearing your Comicsburg T-shirt. That could happen.
Hey, I went up to that guy and I said hello. So
awesome.
Just he happened to be. It was funny. I was at a Pirate game with my wife and my cousin and one of her friends, and I took a picture of us. And Marvin goes, "Is that a Comicsburg shirt?" And I went, "Holy crap, it is! Hold on!" And I went and said hi to that guy. And he had actually met you guys, I believe, at one of our Three River shows. So, and this is kind of the idea. Like, so when you talk about shows a little bit, the whole idea of like our show is not a small show, but it's not a large show. It's like somewhere in between. It's a medium show, right? But our show being focused on comics and creators is a different ball game than going to like New York, San Diego, MegaCon, those kind of places. Because those are the shows where you're going to go to buy or you're going to go to network. Like, and I mean network with like the real big guys, or you're gonna try to pitch your stuff to like Marvel or DC. A show like ours, or Baltimore, or New York, or I'm sorry, or Heroes, or Gem City, like we're all very similar style shows where our shows are about the community and the industry. Like we have people that like there might be a couple guys with appearance fees, but they're not like a signing fee or something, but they're not going to be huge. They're never going to have a giant line. You're going to be able to walk up to people and talk to them for like an hour. Like we had Howard Chink in there a couple years ago, and one of my buddies literally talked to him for an hour and a half. And people just kept hanging out around him, and Howard would sign stuff in between, and it was awesome.
That's what happens.
And then we do stuff like we have like an after thing where people can go and hang out with other people too. I remember a couple years ago we were at our drink and draw event at the Saturday night after the show, and Pete Craig Russell came down late. Like he was late. Like we were almost done, and 2 or 3 of the vendors were still in there. And I was like, Craig, do you want to draw something for the art auction? He's like, yeah, hold on. He drew Dream real quick from Sandman. And he hands it to me. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start at $50, and it went up to $500 in probably 30 seconds. It went up to $500 and sold for $500.
Wow.
You know, but that guy was like, I love Pete Craig Russell. I love his work on Sandman. Like this is like my grail piece now, and you know, I got to be part of that by being the auctioneer for this piece. And then the guy got to go and talk to Craig and like have him sign a book or two while he was there, and that's really what it's about. Like you guys know, like you've done our show, like, and it's like when we went to Heroes last year, like I went off and just networked the whole freaking weekend. And I'd be like, well, I got this guy for the show, and I got this guy for the show, and this guy. And you guys are like, damn. Oh, yeah. Don't worry about it. Like, it's fine.
This is a man of the people.
Yeah.
Look at this awesome sketch I got while I was bullshitting with. It's like, look at this awesome sketch I got from Tim Seeley. He's not coming to the show, but I talked to him about it. Like, or the Ron Lim Iron Man that I have that I absolutely love, like stuff like that. But it's definitely, if you're an independent creator, I wouldn't say smaller shows, but like the smaller to medium show is your better place to get your foot in the door and start talking to people. Because you can even take stuff up to another creator and just say, hey, like I'm putting this out. I did a small press run. Can you look through this and just let me know what you think and get a critique from somebody that's been doing it, right? Like this year we have Amy Chu coming to the show. She's a professional comic writer. She works for Marvel, DC, Dynamite, a couple other places. Like if you are a up and coming or independent creator who's a writer that wants some feedback, you should bring your stuff to her and have her look at it. She also works the Andy Kubrick School and teaches writing, like comic writing. That's what she does. So why you would not take that opportunity blows my mind. And I mean, I watch people walk up to Neil Adams. Right. I mean, I watch people walk up to Neil Adams and be like, here's my portfolio. What do you think? And then he's literally taking a red marker and drawing on stuff and be like, this is bad. This is good. Like, good job here. And I'm just like, please tell me there's a prints. And they're like, nope, those are the originals. I'm like, oh, well, they're now the originals for sure. So it's a very, very cool experience to do that kind of stuff and network and know how to be that guy. The more that you can open yourself up to the criticism and take constructive criticism, no matter how harsh it is, the better you're going to be. My background's actually in music. Like I grew up being a musician. I play a lot of guitar. I have like 13 of them in the room that you can't see. And one of the hardest things you have to learn is I'm going to learn this song and I'm going to play it for somebody. And even though you think you suck, they may not.
Right.
But they may also think you suck, and you go, "Oh man, I nailed that," and they'd be like, "That was awful." But it's eye of the beholder, right? Like not everything's for everybody. So you also have to understand that part too. So yeah, it's kind of interesting thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. To wrap everything up, know the store before you walk in. All right, we're going to present the top 5 keys to selling your indie comic in the shops. Make sure that you're knowing who Jon is before you walk in, or if you're walking in and don't know him, ask about him, shake his hand, if he lets you do that. Talk to him, introduce yourself and everything. So make sure that you're knowing what you're getting into before you get into it, because you did all that work to try to get your stuff made and everything. Know your store. Know the store before you walk into it. Make sure that whatever you're presenting is professional. That can be said enough, right, Marvin?
Yeah. And if you don't know what professional is, walk into the shop and look at what's on the shelf. It's just that simple.
Marvin, you deserve this. You deserve it. Make sure you know what's in that store when you walk in.
Know the product and know your product. Again, I'm going to go back to out of the comics and into other products like milk. Like, no one's going to buy the milk if the label's upside down and it doesn't tell you what's inside of the container.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let me put that in my body and everything. No. You got the milk like they label upside down.
And then what if you go to get it and they spelled milk wrong? Come on, what?
Malt, brand X.
Malt.
My bones are so strong. Malt, brand X.
There you go.
That was a good one. You deserve this.
I was just stealing from The Simpsons. It's all good.
Right. All right. Now, also, you want to make sure that. Hold on. Oh yeah, they keep just laughing at you, Marvin. I don't know what's going on with that, man. Offer flexible and fair terms to Jon. Just make sure that if it's 60, 40, 50, 50 and everything, Jon wants to make money too. He's not going to give you that shelf space for free. They're there to do business, and you're a businessman yourself. If you're spending that much money putting your stuff stuff together and everything, we all want to make money. 50, 50, 60, 40, whatever terms that you guys could come up with. Talk to Jon or any other store owner and make sure that you guys are fair, so you could be happy and he could be happy with putting your stuff up in there and everything. So make sure that number 4, you back it up with marketing support. Make sure that you're letting Jon know or any other store owner know what are your plans on getting your stuff out there. What are your plans on keeping the stuff in the stores, making sure that Jon sells his product, sells your product and everything, so everybody can make money and be happy at the end of the day. And then last but not least, make sure that think about the long-term relationship, not just one-time shelf space, unless you're just offering a one shop. If you're like Jon said, if you're offering like a series, when is that next issue going to come out? How often is it going to come out? Don't just disappear after you did all that work to introduce yourself to Jon, and to let him know who you are and everything. And all of a sudden, he doesn't see you, for months, maybe even years or whatever. You're saying, okay, Jon, whatever happened to my stuff that was in the store? Well, DP, I've just seen you. So how am I supposed to have confidence in selling your stuff when I haven't even seen you for years and stuff? What happened?
Right.
Things happen in life, but still. You're trying to be business professional, so make sure that you're knowing all that. Just want to shout out a couple more things before we head out of here. Brian, as Brian said again, you definitely want to try to make sure run a con. We want to actually try to get Jon back on here when we get to the con section of the different parts that we do. So we can actually dig a little deeper into the way cons run, what your experiences are and how they should be, how indie creators and just in general, how people should approach it. So we love to have you back on, as far as that, Jon. So definitely appreciate you.
Sure thing.
Want to basically also shout out a couple Comicsburg products that we have coming out pretty soon. We have like the Edge Kickstarter that'll be coming out pretty soon here. I think early spring is what we're talking about. The Edge Volume 3. Oh, hold on, that's the wrong thing there, right, Marvin? There we go.
That's not it.
That's not it. This is it right here. What's going on there? So the Edge Volume 3, God's Thunder, guys. Make sure that you guys are following the Kickstarter for when it comes out. So we got like, a lot of followers so far. We like to get more. So you'll get all the links and everything in the show notes on how to get that and how to follow. So definitely, check that out.
And it will have a retailer tier.
Yeah, and then we'll have a retailer tier.
It better.
and John, I mean, that was such real good advice that you gave. Seeing these Kickstarters, unless your intentions is not to sell in stores, you definitely should have a retailer and tier out there. Because if you're interested in making money, wouldn't you want the retailer to have some too? So make sure that you guys are presenting that tier for for you guys and stuff, for the stores and everything. Make sure that you guys are following Comicsburg. So we're at comicsburg.com. We got like all your favorite Comicsburg material and everything, Theme of Thieves, Edge, everything, Comicsburg related is right there at the Comicsburg. Follow us at Comicsburg all over social media. Make sure that you're leaving us some feedback. So if you have some questions on anything that you heard on the podcast here, make sure that you're, leaving us some feedback. Let us know what you think of us. Give us some questions and everything, some more questions that we may be able to answer for you that we couldn't answer on the podcast and everything. Also, make sure that you are subscribing to our podcast. Speaking of which, we're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. We're there. Make sure that you guys are supporting your local library. Can't say that enough. I say that every episode. You guys need to go out there, support your local library. Okay. So,
and if you're in Pittsburgh, get that Rad Pass.
Yeah.
Connected, because you get discounts on a lot of stuff that I didn't know about. I was on the website. I was like, holy crap, you can get discounts at the museum with this thing. So get a Rad Pass too if you're in the city of Pittsburgh.
Get a Rad Pass. So
or just get a library card. Like even if you're not going to really use it, just get it anyway.
Get it. And I'm on Hoopla. So once you get that library card, like Marvin said, you can actually subscribe to like Hoopla, which is an online, account app and everything for everything that's in like public libraries. I've got like a whole bunch of comic stuff, DC, Marvel, basically anything that's in public libraries, it's there digitally right online and everything. So you join your public library and you're right there, joining these sites and ads and everything and getting yourself signing in, signing stuff out like you would a regular physical library, offer and no charge and stuff. So we're getting a lot of our stuff on there and everything. So make sure that you guys are doing all that. Anything else? John, you got anything else to plug? While you're on here.
Well, my socials are all at Jon W. Engel, John with no H. It's right there on my name. So make sure you guys check that out. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. That's most of them that I use, I think. And then also you can follow Three Rivers Comic Con with the number 3. Rivers Comic Con. It's like Comic On, so COMICON. And then New Dimension Comics. If you follow just the words New Dimension Comics all the way out with no store attached designation, that's our corporate account. That's the one I run. All the stores have their own. You can find them at NDC Waterfront, NDC Mills, or NDC Pitt Mills, NDC Cranberry, NDC Ohio Valley, NDC Butler, and NDC Elwood City. Yeah, it's a lot. That's why I just follow New Dimension Comics.
Yeah,
it's easy.
Hey, and it's this thing called Google and Google search. And most apps have search buttons. You type in New Dimension Comics, guess what's going to pop up? Everything that John just said.
That's what's going to pop up.
Just make it super easy for you and everything. So
just
make sure you do
hit the easy button, man. That's the solution.
Yeah. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can also email me at jonengel@ndcomics.com, or booking at threeriverscomiccon.com if you have a question about the con. And the con tentatively is the first weekend of June next year. So we'll see. It's downtown Pittsburgh in the convention center. David L. Lawrence, we've only announced 2 guests so far of Amy Chu and Joe Pruitt. Amy just got done working on Emma Frost's White Queen for Marvel, and Joe's doing an Image book right now called what the hell is it called? Viking Moon. It's about a werewolf in Viking times. It's pretty awesome. They're both great people. I've known them for a long time. Make sure you come out, and then obviously Comicsburg's going to be there, so make sure you come out and buy some stuff, get a shirt, get some books. Just bother some people. It's fine. And maybe we'll have a DP lookalike contest and see how many cowboy hats we can have come in. So
very popular. We got like a couple people on the cast and everything that saying that they want one. So it's always
hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Marvin, any last words for the podcast?
No, I was just answering Prometheus Time Travel's question about the percentages. It's usually 50-50, but everything is negotiable. So don't go in with a set number in your head, because it could be up or down depending on the store.
Yeah, usually, I don't usually do anything if it's not 40 to 50% off cover. Just for the record, for if you come to me, if you want less than 40%, I'm probably not going to do it.
It's got to make sense for your store and for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could put something else there that's a name brand in that space, so I got to make money too.
Spaces for rent.
Yep, but guys, but it doesn't matter what shop you support. Make sure you support a shop. I'm very adamant about just support shops in general, because without them, we don't have without them, all we have is the internet, and no one likes to stare at a screen all day, except for my wife. She loves TikTok.
and like we said before, is that think of the comic shop as a third space.
Yeah.
Think of it like Cheers. It's a bar. You walk in there and everyone knows your name.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yes,
that's new dimension, boy. I walk in there and I see other, one of my first visits there and everything. It's I walked into like the Tarentum, not the Tarentum, the Tarentum store. Yeah, there's a bunch of people in there. They're congregating and talking with each other like they've been there and known each other for so long and everything. So like Marvin said, it's like Cheers in there. Everybody knows your name. You keep coming in there, keep visiting and all that stuff. People know you, and it's a community that you're building. And John does so much stuff to make sure that the community feels good when they come in. He has lines going out the store for like free comic day and all that stuff. Making sure that people are really happy when they come into the store and feel comfortable, buying their stuff, talking with the people and stuff, not having rude stuff going on in there and everything. You want to make sure that that you're doing all this stuff to make sure that you're feeling real good about the space that you're in. So, man, it's a beautiful thing. Thank you guys for coming on here. Thanks, John, for just showing up. That's the first thing.
Sorry, I was a little late, but I made it work.
Everything you made it work. Definitely appreciate you. And guys, make sure that you tune it in. We're going to be out for the holidays. So the next time we'll probably be on here, it's going to be in 2 weeks. So we got Christmas and New Year's, thinking about doing a day after New Year's, but we'll see. Just depending on how, I feel after New Year, right? Okay. So thanks again for joining us, and, Comicsburg out.